Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is creative play. So I'm really excited to talk about that. I think creativity is life-giving. And I know people say that they don't have a creative bone in their body, and I would tend to disagree heartily on that. But before we dive into the conversation, let's just take a minute or two to get present. And let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing your cells, all your organs, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and lighting you up from the inside out. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very, very softly, rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm an artist by nature. And not so much by production. For 18 years, I had an Adobe training center where I taught people Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, a whole bunch of the Adobe software. And I love taking photographs, and I'm just creative by nature. Creativity is one of my highest values. And if I didn't have the ability to be creative, I would just wither away and die, I think. And that said, there are all different kinds of arenas for creativity. There's creative thinking, and that's something that we engage with on a daily basis is thinking outside the boundaries, thinking or pressing the boundaries or finding new perspectives on things. And that's a creative act in itself. Not all creativity shows up as painting or drawing or digital art or music or poetry or writing. There's all kinds of expressions of creativity. And it doesn't have to be something that other people even are aware of. It can be something that is just a personal experience, maybe the way that you arrange things or doodles that you make on paper when you're having a conversation. So what is creativity? I think creativity is stepping into a flow, that there's a different dimension of connection or experience that we have the ability to tap into that's expansive. And so I know that so many of you are fans of Maggie's, and I want to share that I'm very, very excited because I've been learning about something called NFTs. So I don't know if any of you guys are in the crypto space, but I've been investing in crypto since 2017, and it's really starting to pay off. And there's a new thing within the crypto space called NFTs, and that stands for non-fungible token. And NFTs, it's kind of a crazy space. It's kind of like a pet rock type space in a way, because people are paying crazy amounts of money for ridiculous things, artwork that is just, ridiculous for the amount of money that people are paying for these things. But the interesting thing is that it NFT stands for non-fungible token. And that means that each of these things are unique. So good morning, Pat Moss. Welcome. It's so good to have you here, and so good to have everybody else joining us. You're getting a very, very superficial and brief explanation of the NFT space. So when I first learned about NFTs, I thought it was ridiculous. And in some respects, I'm learning that it is, or aspects of it are pretty ridiculous, but also it's a technology based or a digital tracing, so that NFTs can actually be used as a digital receipt for goods, services, whatever. So anyway, I'm interested and curious about this space, and I have all these wonderful photographs, and I thought I would really like to see if there's a way to participate in this NFT space. And so I have some goofy pictures. Good morning, Bernadette. So good to see you here with us this morning. I'm talking about creativity and the creative flow, and how it really is enlivening and invigorating. At least it is for me. So I'm like an early to bed person, because I just punk out at like early, and then I'm in bed, but I can't sleep. And anyway, so I was actually playing with making these images of Maggie that are kind of psychedelic, crazy, silly, cute images of her. You wouldn't recognize it as her necessarily, but and I was up until after midnight, and then I couldn't fall asleep, and I pretty much didn't sleep all night, like on and off for a few hours maybe, because I was so excited, I think. So it made me think about creativity and how I really haven't. A little while back, I started playing with encaustic painting, and I had really, really wanted to do that for a long time. And I got myself all these wonderful supplies, and I did some paintings, and they have been sitting there for a while now. And so yesterday was the first time that I actually let myself dig in to start playing with making these ridiculously silly, sweet little images of Maggie. And Bernadette says, "Oh, how wonderful! Love creative juices when they flow." Exactly. And the thing is that we often put creativity on the back burner. We often don't allow ourselves that joyful, enlivening, invigorating freedom, and in we see it oftentimes as an indulgence, right? It doesn't make it high up on the priority of things to do, or our list of what's important, right? But the thing is, so I've had pretty much no sleep, but I am so excited about this, and it woke me up to how important for me creativity is, again and again. I mean, I already know this, but I haven't really been indulging my creative need. And I wonder how many of you are also extremely creative and just have not given yourself the time to just play. And the thing is, I realize, this NFT space is potentially a space to be able to make some income, and maybe not, but it's really interesting how, as much as I talk about doing from inspiration, part of the reason that I've given myself permission to do this is because it might actually make money, but I'm also wanting to be learning about the space, and I'm just having fun with it. So Pat says, I have those paints in the office. I haven't used them for ages. I use the iron. Oh, Pat, how cool is that? well, maybe this will inspire you to get back to playing with encaustic. So do you just, for those of you who don't know, encaustic is wax-based paint. It's wax with pigment, and it's a very old technique, and it maintains its vibrance and beauty, and can last for forever. But you can also do all kinds of really cool collaging with it, because the wax attaches stuff together. So I can show you a I really was very much in an experimental stage. I really didn't get very far beyond just making experiments, but this is a piece that I did. It's a leaf. It's actually a leaf embedded in the wax and painted over with color and outlined and etched into. And so anyway, I haven't used an iron, Pat. So I read about the technique where you put the color on the iron itself, and then iron onto whatever the canvas is that you're using. Is that how it works? I'm really, really curious about that. So because I actually registered for an encaustic class. I think it's in November, though. It's a ways off, but I'm really excited. Encaustic collaging and printmaking. So welcome, Tammy. So good to have you here. And Bernadette says so Bernadette says, I think because people take creativity as personal, and I love seeing it. I play all the time and would overwhelm the world. LOL. I don't think you would overwhelm the world. Maybe you would get recognition, and maybe you just would be able to give yourself permission to share what you do. Why not? Oh, and so Bernadette, wow, having 6 and almost 7 grandbabies, you need to be very creative. I guess you do. That's amazing. That's amazing. So good morning, Gina. Welcome. It's great to have you here. We're talking about creativity and how, quote unquote, big air quotes, indulging in our creativity is something that's really life affirming. And I think that what creativity enables us to do is to tap into a different dimension of awareness and experience. Like when we're really being creative, we're in a flow. And what happens is that it's kind of like channeling. It can, in that what happens is stuff comes through that wouldn't necessarily otherwise be accessible, even, let alone transmissible. It's a way to bring our other than conscious awareness into some kind of expression. So it's just honestly, I am so excited about these goofy little bird pictures. They're just silly. And one of the things that I know about me is that I can tend to be pretty serious and intense. So, to be able to be silly and playful, that's a really wonderful thing. And we were talking about everybody should have a bird on their head because it has an element of silliness and lack of seriousness to it, or tempers seriousness. And so that's a really, really important thing. So Bernadette says, I think creativity brings out the child in us all. And so what do we know about children? Children have are not as plagued by preconceptions as adults are, right? Children are able to see things with very different eyes, and there's a very a curiosity, right, and maybe an innocence about the way that things are perceived through children's eyes. I have a great story. I think this is one of the best stories ever. I love this. It was about a little kid who had been, let me just think about how it works. So who was on an airplane for the first time and was asking, when do we get small? And, it's because what happens is you see the airplane in the sky and it's really small. So the kid was saying, well, when do we get small? And I just think that that is such a beautiful representation of the perception, that how the world might work, and to be able to be open to something as new. And so Bernadette says, exactly, unfiltered, exactly. And then says, oh, how precious. I agree, like really precious. When do we get small? It's, oh, I'm so sorry. And I think that being creative allows us to tap into our the bigger field. And I had a great conversation yesterday with someone who I dearly love, who is a brilliant artist, photographer, and really creating groundbreaking bodies of work. And she has been since she was in her 20s, like she's in art history books and stuff. Her name is Catherine Jansen, Jansen, and she's just a brilliant artist and sage, in the way that she views the world in so many ways. And she was reading a book, I think it's called Art and Physics, which I really need to check out because it sounds amazing. And she was talking about how historically trends in art emerge as a predictor or preempt evolutions in science and philosophy. And I remember in art school, I went to art school, and I remember in art school, in art history class, that there were a lot of correlations between art and science. I wasn't aware, or art and the emergence of science, I wasn't aware that that art preceded science, or that was a predictor. And when we think about connecting to the field, that's what art expresses, is this connection to the field when we're in the flow, not when we're like intellectually trying to put something together, but when we're really present to just the creative expression. So good morning, Dennis. So good to see you here. And Bernadette says, one of my granddaughters ran around with a bag so the rain could be collected so we could stay outside longer. Oh my gosh, how amazing is that? Wow, I love that. So we could collecting the rain, catching it in a bag so you could stay outside. That's amazing. Children, and when we can access that, when we can access that playfulness, that innocent perception, a whole world opens up. And good morning, Josie. Yes, so Josie says my creative levels are high. And so I think that the truth is that we are all creative. We just don't all nourish those impulses. And I think I think that there's so many modes of creative expression. Maybe, arranging flowers when you buy them from someplace, bring them home and arrange them, or, there are so many ways in which we can be creative. We can be creative in our thinking. We can be creative with our words. We can be creative by doing something that's in the more standard arts, like painting or sculpture or poetry or writing, or so many things, so many ways that we can express ourselves and just be in that energy. And I realize that it's very interesting that the reason that I gave myself permission to play with these images is because I want to get into the NFT space and play there. And there's potential revenue opportunity with it as well. But I kind of am using that as an excuse to be, and the thing that disturbs me as I recognize this in myself is that I felt the need to justify my diving in and playing, which is sad. It's sad that I did that. So now I get to allow myself to just play because it's so important. Like I feel invigorated and excited, and I haven't been as excited about a project as since I started playing with the encaustic stuff, and I haven't gotten back to it for a while. So Bernadette says, I laugh when people say they're not creative, and I usually say, yes, you are, because you have created your environment to suit your personality. Beautiful. Yes, exactly. And we can all go a step further. We've all created our lives, whether consciously or otherwise. We have created our lives, and we create our experience. So we create the way that we respond to things, not necessarily consciously, but we talk about this all the time. That the way that we interact with our world and our experience certainly is creative. We are generators, we are creators. We create tragedy and triumph, we create sorrow and joy. We are creators. That is what our experience here is all about, is being creators. So it just takes all different forms. And I just have to say that I have at this moment anyway, I have such a feeling of delight about it. Maggie has something to say. Yes, so Maggie's my muse, and I have these photographs of her after she has bathed herself in my water glass, and she comes up all rumpled and all of her feathers are crunched up, and she looks somewhat bedraggled. And I've used those images to start playing with psychedelic colors and patterns, and just really goofy stuff, really goofy. So at some point, once I figure out how to do all this, I will post them. I'm going to be setting up maybe an Instagram for her, but or for these images, but probably a Pinterest if I can figure out how to do that. And they're really silly, Bernadette. They look like a cartoon. They look like just a cartoon. They're not recognizable as Maggie photos particularly. But I'm having such fun with it because I love color. So color to me feeds my soul, literally, like feeds me. It's delicious to me. And color and pattern, and it's kind of like being very like the 70s psychedelic colors and stuff. It's just really funny. And um, and I'm just playing, and it's, there is so much merit for all of us to play and just tap into that childlike sense of wonder and delight. And so I invite you to just play today. Find some creative outlet to just play and enjoy and tap into that innocence and purity of just creative expression. It doesn't have to be anything that looks beautiful either. Yes, Bernadette, bring on the tie-dye. Exactly. I mean, it is like that. It's just funny. I mean, I look at these things and laugh. It's hysterical. So maybe I'll share them with you at some point. Anyway, that's it for today. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on Enlightened World Network's Facebook page. And Maggie really has a lot to say on this whole creative conversation, right, Meg? Yeah. So anyway, please check out the other wonderful programming on the other Enlightened World Network Facebook properties, EWN, One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And so much love to you. Go do something fun and creative and just enjoy the heck out of it. Why not? Give yourself that. It's such an important gift. So much love to you. Hope to see you back here again really